Yeah.
Frozen.
I think she must have started driving. Should we begin? Let's begin. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all
Sorry
right.
about that. That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sharanjit, we're going to be starting with the session. Ian will, if you could send us an email on what you want, and
Oh,
we help you with that.
brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharanjit. Welcome to the 12th week running of the CASH event. This week we'll be talking about supporting refugees into employment. A couple of ground rules. If everyone can put off their mute on, so we don't get disturbed. Sharanjit, would you be able to do that for us? Let me try. Thank you. Since this is going to be a 1.5 hour session, we won't have a break in between, but please feel free to take a break if you need one, but come back soon. Just before we start into our session, which is going to be very informative and important to us all, there's a survey going on by the NHS if you're under 50 and if you would like to take part in it. If you can take part in this survey, there's a £150 of Amazon voucher available. This is to help understand our hesitancy with the COVID vaccine and to get more information. So do pass this information with your with the people you work with. Our first speaker would be Hilton von Herbert, who would be talking about the EU settlement scheme, which would be followed by Philip Coco, who would again talk about how breaking barriers will support the same group of. We then have Barbara Karai, who would also be speaking about WLEC. They're working together with the Ealing Law Center, and we'd look at how the EU settlement scheme, which is pretty close now, and everyone's looking at how we can tackle this issue. A lot of support from our groups here. So on to you, Hilton. Welcome, and thank you for your time with us. I'll just stop sharing here. You're on mute, Hilton.
Thank you, Nyoka, and thanks. Good morning, everyone. I will be sharing a screen, but it will be controlled by Amir. So Amir, if you could put the screen up. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Yeah. Okay. Amir, if you go to page 2, thanks. Okay, so about just a brief outline about Ealing Law Centre. Community law centres were established in the 1970s in the UK to provide access to specialist legal representation for local people. Since 2012, a number of law centres have closed due to legal aid cuts. Law centres depended heavily on legal aid funding, but since the cuts in 2012, a lot of law centres have had to close, sadly. We are still plodding on, and we have funding from different various sources, and we are staying open and surviving. Ealing Law Centre opened in 2013, and we specialize in immigration, housing, welfare, and welfare benefits. Next slide. So the moment for today, I'm just going to introduce you briefly to the EU settlement scheme. Barbara would be talking about the scheme as well later on. Now, Ealing Law Centre has been delivering assistance under the EU settlement scheme since 2019. We are delivering our current project with our partners. So we are in partnership with Hammersmith and Fulham Law Centre and the West London Equality Centre, which is Barbara's team. Together, we are covering the London boroughs of Barnet, Brent, Camden, and small parts of the city of Westminster, and those of Ealing, Hammersmith and Fulham, Harrow, Islington, and Kensington and Chelsea. The project is grant funded by the Home Office. There are a number of grant funded organizations doing this work across the country. Next slide, Amir. Page 5. So the EU settlement scheme is the UK's immigration scheme for EU citizens and their family members to secure their immigration status and be able to stay in the UK after the 30th of June 2021. The EU settlement scheme has been fully operational since the 30th of March 2019 and will be open until the 30th of June 2021. So there's not much time left. If you know of any clients or any EU citizens or their family members who need to regularize their stay, who have not got either settled or pre-settled status under the settlement scheme, you need to refer them as quickly as possible, certainly before the end of June 2021. Next slide. So basically, who can apply to the scheme? EEA citizens who were residing in the UK before midnight on the 31st of December 2020 can apply. Their family members of any nationality, including those with retained rights of residence. Some primary carers of EEA citizens. Irish citizens are not required to apply for settled status, but they may wish to do so. Family members who are not Irish citizens or British citizens and who do not have leave to enter or remain in the UK will need to apply even if their Irish family member doesn't. Also, children need to apply, including babies, believe it or not. They are able to make applications in their own right or make a linked application with their parents. Next slide. So the relevant family members would be spouses, civil partners, people in durable relationships. And durable relationships are those that are deemed, well, classed to be 2 years or longer. People who are unmarried or in relationships akin to marriage or akin to a civil partnership. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, including those of the spouse or civil partner, can also apply. Dependent parents, dependent grandparents or great-grandparents, including of the spouse or civil partner, can also apply. Dependent relatives, including those of the spouse or civil partner, where the applicant holds a relevant document in the UK, can also apply. Relevant document would be derivative rights of residence. Next slide. So some family members not in the UK by the relevant date, i.e. 31st of December 2020, will be allowed to enter the UK after 31st of December 2020. Those include spouses and civil partners, durable partners, children and grandchildren under the age of 21, and dependent children over 21, but there must be a proven dependency. Relationships including dependency needed to be in existence before 31st of December 2020 and need to continue to exist when they enter the UK. They will need a family permit to travel to the UK, i.e. they need to apply for something that looks like a visa from abroad before arriving in the UK. And all family members arriving will need to apply for pre-settled status. That's just a very, very quick summary of the EU settlement scheme. If you need to refer clients, our contact details are here. That EU SS2 email address would be one that we would share amongst the partnerships. So Hammersmith and Fulham and West London Equality Centre, where referrals will come in and we will decide whether West London Equality Centre might be able to take the case on or help, or whether Hammersmith or Fulham would take it, or Ealing Law Centre. But yes, those are contact details. The slides, I believe, would be shared amongst you, so you will have time to peruse at your leisure. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilton. If anyone has any questions for Hilton, we will be sharing the slides, and there's a lot of information in there for you to go through. But if anyone has any questions at this point. Okay, let's move to our next speaker, who is Philip Coco from Breaking Barriers. Okay, is Philip here? Yes, you're on mute, Philip, yes.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Philip Kuku, and as you mentioned, I'm from Breaking Barriers. Thank you so much. Can I share my screen, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you see my screen? As I mentioned, I work for Breaking Barriers, a charity that supports refugees into work. And my job is Catalyst project admin. So Catalyst is one of the projects that we deliver at Breaking Barriers. So in Breaking Barriers, our vision is we believe that every refugee in London can fulfill their potential and integrate into their new homes through employment that matches their skills, experience, and inspiration. Breaking Barriers is a charity. This is our mission, whose mission is to help refugees in London acquire the knowledge, confidence, and experience to get stable, fulfilling employment. We involve businesses directly in finding employment solution and providing support that get refugees into work. So just before I start talking about the work that we do, I think it is worth just mentioning some of the barriers to employment. Lack of English proficiency is one of the main barrier to refugees, and gap on CV created by lengthy asylum process normally sometimes take 1, 2, or 3 years. lack of networks within the job market, lack of UK work experience and or education, limited knowledge of the UK job market, non-recognition of overseas work experience or education. We at Breaking Barriers, we provide our refugee clients with intensive one-to-one employment, advice and guidance to help overcome the many barriers that they face to entering stable and meaningful employment. Our clients are matched with a dedicated employment and integration advisors, and each uh, advice and guidance session is tailored to their individual skills and inspiration. A session could involve CV and cover letter support, interview, practice, job searching, or a discussion around a client long-term career goals and how to achieve this. The majority of our clients are unemployed when they begin their journey with Breaking Barriers, which also means that they are more likely to face the barrier to employment listed in the previous slide. So we have BB First Step, which is designed specifically to support our clients who are unemployed and who have often not had any employments in the UK before. We also have additional support that tailored to people who are employed, but they're looking for work that better matches their skills. The support for that comes under the Aspire program. So the Aspire program is tailored for underemployed clients who have taken up work as means of beginning home, a wage, but who are underpaid or overqualified or not working in their desired sector. Also, we have tailored support for our clients who are 18 to 25 years old, and we call that Futures program. And that specific support means basically access to perhaps workshops tailored to their needs. We also run mentoring program to inspire and young clients as well. So right now, all our services are provided online, but when services takes place in person, we provide support on weekly basis in Clapham Junction, Hexton, and Hammersmith, with additional support also offered in partnership with organizations in Croydon and Balham. Education, we have English classes, IT classes, and digital skills. Our English courses start at pre-beginner. We do not require minimum English level for client to access our services, addressing a gap in state-funded ESOL. Courses range through to advanced level, and we also run classes to help clients prepare for taking their IELTS, as it is required for people who want to go to university. So we have also introduced an informal conversation cafe for our clients to practice speaking English in relaxed and encouraging environment. Our IT courses delivered in collaboration with our corporate partner called BNY Mellon also provide training essential for success in their modern job market. These courses are tailored to a variety of levels, from beginner, which start with setting up an email account and using search engines, through to advanced, which sees our client making and delivering presentation and becoming competent with Microsoft Office as a whole. Digital upskilling is also essential to give our clients the tools to succeed, not merely in securing a job, but throughout an entire career in a digital workplace. Corporate partnership. As I mentioned before, we involve businesses in finding employment solution, providing support that get refugees into work. So our partners offer 6 months program, giving clients opportunity to work a part-time paid placement alongside employability workshop and mentoring. So the topics for our uh, workshop, we have topics like networking, customer service, presentation skills, business communication skills, and etiquette, how to get into specific sector such as law and finance. So finally, our eligibility criteria. So individual with one of the following status from the UK or another EU country, refugee status, discretionary leave to remain or humanitarian protection, individual that once met the above criteria and now have residence in the UK or another EU country, individuals who are in the UK on a family reunion visa with a person who meets the above criteria, asylum seeker with the right to work, survivors of trafficking who have been granted the right to work. And yeah, our service is now currently only in London. Yeah, if you want to make a referral, please go to our website, breakingbarriers.co.uk, and you can find a form there and make a referral, and yeah, just fill everything and submit that form. That's everything. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for your information, for all the information, Philip. That's really impressive. I have a question from James on the chat. He asked if your IT clients, do they work towards a formal, when you're training them on IT? I guess that's the question, right, James? Do they work towards a formal recognized qualification?
It is not that formal, but like with the support from our corporate partners, so they tailor like trainings for them actually to get them into the sector. But sometimes we get offers also from training centers, which that could be like a formal training for them.
So I imagine the training offered would be a foundation to ground them to be able to go on to formal training.
Exactly. So it would be a formal with a training with one of our corporate partners. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to ask him, James? I think he's.
I guess the idea is that people then get into the workplace. So
yeah. And I think
that, in an IT field, but so they can use a computer to.
Yeah. Also, getting them fluent with the language, especially with those having that as a barrier, opens up the market a lot more. So yeah, thank you for all the amazing work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
James, would you like to add on to your question, or is that it?
No, it's just that sorry, I dropped out the last few seconds of the conversation or the answer. But the thing is, particularly with employers, yes, you could say you have this skill, but or experiences, unless it's a piece of paper or some kind of certification, HRs are not interested. That's the fact of life. I work in the education sector. and you know, not having a formal qualification or recognized qualification of any sort, particularly in my area is IT, they're not interested. You know, that goes straight to the bottom of the pile. So your partners hopefully will consider something called Microsoft Office Specialist, which is a certification. It's like the old ECDL, but it's run by Microsoft.
Okay.
It can be inexpensive depending how you negotiate the price, or your partner may be able to do it through their whatever their channel of supplies are. And there's, you know, ECDLs is still running, because one of the place I work in, we actually use ECDL for low ability students, as a kind of way to help them into employment. It's a, you know, it's a very, I don't know if anyone know about ECDL, European Computer Driving License. It's a way of saying, you know, you have done to a certain level. There are advanced level within that as well as the basic levels. Okay.
So are those recognized as formal qualifications, James?
Yes, they are.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Microsoft Office Specialist, especially because it's run by Microsoft, and you actually get the certification from Microsoft themselves. ECDL from part of British Computer Society. It used to be the standard to have to update people who never had technology when they were at school or when they were at college.
Yeah.
So it's.
So I suppose it would help to have some sort of basic knowledge before getting onto that course.
Yeah, it's not just basic knowledge. It's the employer know that you have basic IT literacy.
Right.
So they know you can operate a computer, not just to be able to turn it on and just social media, but it's, you know, how to use Word, Excel, email, and so on.
Yeah, awesome. Great, James. These are very helpful, really. Yeah, I will be adding them and share it with our education department. Thank you so much.
I was going to say that there are quite a few places that do some level of courses, and as with your organization, Philip, the limitation usually is the visa requirement. There are lots of people who are unemployed who, you know, for lack of English or whatever, but they can't necessarily access your service. So it is worth pointing out to everybody here that, Philip, I think your service is available for those who had refugee status or humanitarian leave, because they might now be on indefinite leave to remain, but may have come 5-6 years ago and are now indefinite leave to remain. So it's important that you might have been a refugee 6-7 years ago, 5 years ago. You can still take part in this. You can still take advantage of this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we might come across someone who was a refugee once, but they can still do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, James and Barbara. Yeah, that does open it up to a lot more than just those who consider themselves as refugees. I think Jane there has a question for you, Philip.
Yeah.
Or something to inform
Okay.
you.
Good morning, Philip. My name is Jane. I'm from the EHCVS. I'm running the digital project for Hounslow. I'm really interested in what you're doing around training people with digital. And I'd love to have a conversation with you outside of the meeting to look at the range of really free and easily available training programs that people can access, which do lead to certification and which are recognized within the workplace. So perhaps we could have a conversation at another time.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would really be interested in that. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
I'll send you my email.
Please do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look forward to speaking to you, Philip.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Jane. Loving the networking and sharing that's happening here. This is what we are for. Just a small note before we move to Barbara. We would like this session of CASH was set for a specific period, and we'd like to, take it forward. So those who've been attending and joining us on a regular basis, if you've had any kind of benefits out of the session, or you need anything out of the session, do let me know. This would help us with our funder review and help us extend the session for a longer period. Thank you. Now on to you, Barbara. Oh, you're on mute.
Here we go. Unmute from beginning slideshow. Can you see the screen okay? Yeah, okay. So this is the opening slide. I am Barbara Karai. I'm the director of West London Equality Centre. We've been going for a very long time, 1963 in fact, and we were founded to help people settle, people who are migrants and new to the area of Southall and Ealing, to help them settle and have friends and network and support each other. We were a race equality council in the 1990s and 2000s. Race has somehow fallen out of the agenda a little bit, as we know. And so we became Ealing Equality Council, and we deal with all strands of equality. So the disability, faith, gender identity, the full range. We focus on helping discriminated and excluded and deprived people anywhere in West London. So we're not limited to Ealing. And the idea is that through the help that we provide them, they can become active citizens and they can help other people in the community. They relay to people what other, the wonderful services that we know exist in West London. And we're a charitable company. So that means we're a charity and a company. We have 8 paid staff. Interrupt me at any moment, at any time, by the way, if you have any questions. We have 8 staff, 30+ volunteers from literally all backgrounds, from age-wise to status to refugees, and that applies also to our trustees. Our trustees are from the University of West London, who host our office, who help us run our office, and we have a lot of university students as volunteers. We give them opportunities to train and to learn to give advice. We're not a law firm, so we're not limited in what we advise people. It doesn't have to be legal. Our advice may well be non-legal. We have a quality mark called AQS. We've just had our inspection last week and we've got it back, so that we're very happy about that. That means our advice is of a certain standard. Our solicitors are obviously Solicitor Regulation Authority regulated, and we're also registered with the OISC to give immigration advice. We normally, but this is pre-COVID, take around 5,000 inquiries for advice a year, of which 1,000 become full-on casework. We share and train all the time, so there's a constant flow of information between the staff and the volunteers, and we have regular meetings. It's all about finding a solution. So we're looking for the best solution for the client, which may well be a non-legal one. We also tell people when we can't help, and we will say why. Sometimes it's not worth pursuing something if the successful outcome is just not going to happen. We are almost always scored excellent by clients because we listen. So our main free legal advice service is called Community Advice Program. This has been running since the 90s, I think. This used to be drop-in, then it became appointment because we were so swamped with inquiries. At the moment, obviously it's suspended because of COVID, but our phone lines are open. We all have mobile phones at home that were our office for office mobiles. We have started being in the office again on a reduced basis. So we are available on the phone and we're available on the web. And we do go out to the food bank. If a client has to be seen face to face, we use the food bank network. Advice is given by qualified lawyers or trained volunteers, and everyone is supervised. No one is left to their own devices and left to give advice that may or may not be right. We interview very closely, and we help clients evaluate their legal and non-legal options. This can range from 15 minutes of free advice, this is what you need to do, and the client goes away, to advocating for a client, writing letters, and obviously when it comes to people from a non-British, non-white background, those tend to be our clients. People having to deal with the council on a complicated eviction matter, they will need our help. We prepare clients for courts or tribunals. We give them very good notes. They have to do it themselves though. We give them very good notes because for the client, for the person seeking advice, it's very difficult to see through the forest of information to see what the actual issue is. So we give them very precise notes and guidance how to tackle it, so that when they go to the tribunal, they don't focus on all the 15 different things. They focus only on what the matter was that is the tribunal hearing about. We have weekly training sessions given by practitioners and experts, sometimes students. We discuss current topics. So last week we did Shamima Begum and her the appeal on the deprivation of her British citizenship. Next week we're going to be talking about Uber, the Uber case, our Uber drivers, employees, and the implications of that. We have a number of other projects. As Hilton mentioned, the EU settlement scheme is one of our projects. So I'll just quickly run you through and then I'll elaborate on two of them. Help through crisis. We work with Ealing Hounslow CVS. It's an outreach through the food bank to help people who are in a crisis that brings them to the food bank. We assign people out to a program, and the idea is to prevent the crisis from happening again. So they might be going to the food bank now, but through finding a job or employment or improving their access to money, maybe through a better budget, to better benefits, we hope that the crisis can be averted from happening again. We have the hate crime support service. This is very important because we're quite unique in that. People can ring us. I'll have phone numbers on the last slide. Hate crime, I'll explain hate crime later. EU settlement scheme. So it should be called EEA settlement scheme. We, along with Ealing Law Centre and Hammersmith Law Centre, help people who are vulnerable get EU settlement status. These are people who may not know that they need to apply. They may be care home residents, there may be children in care, they may be living in Gypsy, Roma or traveller encampments. Those people don't necessarily know, or they don't necessarily have the skills to apply for this EU settlement scheme, settled status or pre-settled status. It's a really big problem because once the deadline has passed, the 30th of June, you are technically here illegally. So it's really, really important. Have Your Say is a project funded by the EU. It's around active citizenship for people who are not that educated. So I think my colleague is developing a game, a learning game. We have just started a housing special advice service called Private Tenants Advice Service. So in Ealing, many residents are now living in private tenancies. There's very little council housing around. And they might have issues with their landlord or disrepair, and they can come and see us. So hate crime support service. Well, okay. I didn't know this was the next slide. Okay, so all our projects are around helping those who have no means, people who may not be connected. They don't have families who work in law or families who work in a business. These are people maybe without means. They don't know where to turn. And they may not get help at all. And in fact, sometimes we still get people who had an issue that wasn't resolved a year ago. And it's a bit shocking sometimes. They were maybe illegally evicted a year ago. And they never sought any help that could have prevented that from happening. By reaching out to these people, we reduce isolation and their marginalization. We make things possible that otherwise wouldn't be, and they will in future hopefully reach out. They will tell their friends that there are solutions. You need to make contact with authorities. You can talk to people. We bring people into the system who do otherwise remain outside. And we know that with the undocumented people in Southall, for instance, there are a lot of people out under the radar. They're actually quite difficult to help, but there's a whole world out there that never reaches out. We also give learning opportunities and skills training to our network of volunteers, including students. So through us, they learn to interview clients, they learn to write letters, office skills, and we have hosted refugees. So people with granted status have trained with us, and they've all gone on to employment. Our clientele is roughly 90% Black, Asian and minority ethnic versus 50% all over Ealing. Roughly 50% have some degree of mental health issue. This is sometimes caused by the problem that they come to see us about, homelessness or something. Sometimes it's very severe, and that is disabling. Most inquiries are housing related. Second most is welfare. Housing related means disrepair, eviction, things like that. We get involved when things have gone wrong. So we won't help people apply for universal credit, but we'll help them when they've been turned down for something. We'll help them put it right. How do we do this? We're non-judgmental. This is part of our mission when we train our volunteers. It's very, very important. We make no assumptions about our clients. When they come to see us, we make no. We work on what is in front of us. Someone might look like a homeless person, but we don't assume they're homeless. It's very important because we have sometimes we have someone who claims we're not culturally sensitive, but I think it's quite important to work with the client, not to make any assumptions. We struggle to help some groups. We will try our utmost. We will examine the situation thoroughly. Sometimes the options are very limited, and we'll tell people why. We tell people because they will otherwise go to the next 5 places and they will be told the same thing. These groups are people with learning disabilities. It's very difficult to assess capacity. One of my colleagues helped someone last week, and it turns out she has a power of attorney over her. So she's wasted an hour speaking to her when really she should have spoken to the person with power of attorney. No recourse to public funds. I think that's a term that's become very popular we all know what that means now. For the last year, these are people who cannot claim benefits. So it's the last year has been devastating for these people because they haven't been able to work. Undocumented. These are people who maybe came here and they've never updated their documents. They're overstayers, and there's a whole range. There's also some people who came here and just never bothered about the whole visa in the first place. These are now increasingly elderly, and I think if somebody wanted to do a project or find a way to support this group, I think this is going to be a really big thing in West London in the next 10 years. These are elderly people who now have care needs. They were able to look after themselves for 30 years, but now health problems are coming up, and they're increasingly not independent and don't have family. And they're at risk of exploitation. But the solutions are very hard to find. Housing, we regularly have people who just not ill enough to improve the housing banding. And because the lack of housing, council housing, this is starting to be a very, very big issue. People with quite severe disabilities can't be accommodated. Lack of English. So I'm Philip, you mentioned English courses. Lack of English is a really, really big problem. It means that it's very difficult for someone to become independent if they're constantly depending on other people for all their issues and their translations. Why are people isolated and marginalized? This could be because of their language or ethnicity. And the reason why I say this is very obvious, but I also mean that sometimes groups are very inward looking. They're discouraged from looking outside their community for help. So they become very isolated and open to exploitation. Lack of literacy and digital skills. So Philip's group does IT skills. I think some of that will be around encouraging people to have digital skills. Age and disability can be very isolating, including if you have caring responsibilities. You might be very far away from somewhere for help. You might be a victim of crime or domestic abuse and be therefore very vulnerable. Being a victim of hate crime or domestic abuse is very isolating. You are fearful of going outside. You are fearful of looking elsewhere for solutions and help. So we have our hate crime project. Hopefully you all know what a hate crime is. I've described it here again. It's a hostile act because of an actual or perceived characteristic, which can be disability, gender identity, sexual orientation, race or faith. It can be a criminal act, it can also be non-criminal, but it should still be reported. Hate crime isolates victims. So we hope to bring people back into the light by providing help and advice, and we will connect them with services to support them. We'll help them report to the police, for instance. People might be fearful of the police. We can help take that fear away. We can help the police speak to the victim. We can help the victim speak to the police. Hate crime is a big issue because, as you might have noticed, the characteristics are things we cannot help being. You cannot help being a person with a disability or a person of a certain ethnicity. It stops people from taking full advantage of opportunities, stops people integrating. Footballers, if you think that 20, 30 years kick racism out of football has been going, the Kick It Out campaign has been going, footballers still get racial abuse. It's really hard to believe nowadays that this still goes on. And if you imagine how strong-willed a footballer has to be putting up with all the racist abuse and still put a brave face on it, that should not be required. So I've already said some of these things. We help liaise between police and victim. We analyze the evidence. It's very important to know that CCTV is usually overwritten after a short time. So it's very important to explain to the victim how important CCTV is and how important it is to report immediately, so any evidence is preserved. We also inform the council and the police of developments and trends. So race and hate, unfortunately, this has been the case for the last 20 years. 75% of all hate crime is race-based hate crime. It's affected by political events. So when Black Lives Matter, when there's a shooting, when there's a terrorist attack, race hate goes up. The Brexit vote, also after that, there was a reaction and increased race hate. It causes real community cohesion issues and lack of trust. And with the COVID, the uptake of the vaccine, and I think that's a prime example. And we need authorities to deal with this properly. So here are some contact numbers. Quite a few are 0800 numbers, so they're free phone. Help with EU settlement applications, help through crisis via the food bank. So people should go to the food bank. There we go. The presentation, I think, will be circulated, so look out for the last page. We are also on Twitter and we are on Facebook. And you can ring us. That phone number on their general inquiries is this phone. Tell people about us, check our website. Our website, sorry, it looks a bit unprofessional at the moment. It's been updated by me. But thank you very much for listening. Any questions? Should I stop sharing? I'll stop sharing and then I welcome any questions. I hope you all heard that.
Thank you, Barbara. That was
too late to tell me I was on mute.
No, that was brilliant. Actually, a lot of information there. Thank you for sharing this with us. Today's session actually has been really informative, and I hope, and I'm sure everyone has benefited from it. I have one question. When you were talking about the undocumented clients coming with no documents, or who've stayed back and not bothered to update and who are now elderly, you did mention that those are people you struggle to help right now, and I'm sure there are lots of other areas where there is an intention to help and serve, but there's just no answers yet. So would it make sense for these people to come ahead and open a can of worms, because then it's just going to get messy, and when they're not doing that anyways, they're not getting any of the benefits and they're still struggling. So how do you suppose we could support them?
I don't know. That the reason for bringing this up, I had a call from a gentleman who was in his 70s and who was crying on the phone, who came to Britain in 1993. And he's been volunteering, surviving, I have no idea how, he has actually been here long enough to make a claim under the 20-year rule, but that is expensive and he doesn't have any money. So he's now got diabetes and some other health conditions. So he's partially sighted. He has care needs which are being met. So the council, or he is getting care. But what we can do for him is really, really limited. His friends have been putting him up. The friend now wants, his life back, or his house back, or his spare bedroom back. I don't know. And it's actually very, very difficult to help. I did look up what the options are, but they're expensive. It means applying for limited leave to remain 4 times. So he's got 10 years, and then he can apply for indefinite leave to remain, and that is, that's £10,000 just in fees.
Very painful stories there. I think Yusuf, you have your hand up there. Would you like to ask?
Actually, I wanted to raise 2 things to comment. It's not a question, but Barbara, thank you very much. Good presentation, very precise, and actually, it's a holistic services we are offering.
Yeah.
Before the lockdown, there was a client, one of your solicitors was dealing with, and it was mental illness, and it was long existing case for BIB. They turned down her BIB, and then there was her case with the tribunal, and it has taken for a long time. And when that time came for presentation, then the solicitor said exactly what you described, that we'll give you the case, and then you have to go with you on your own. And for a mental person like that, I found a little bit, uncomfortable with that, in that situation. Then I tried myself to come with her. I never knew your location. I knew the one opposite the one in Broadway station.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, that is. When I came there, it was inaccessible. So the solicitor was to come down to me down on the ground floor, and I'm a wheelchair user.
Yeah,
I found
there is a stair lift.
Before you used to do Lido, your services.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think what you can do now, if you can run after the lockdown, if you can maybe outreach to Lido Center, if you can plan for disabled people.
We have a stair lift.
Okay.
But we can't at the moment. We can't have any. We can't see people.
Not now. I'm talking not now. It's just a comment to bring to your attention that if after the lockdown, if you can extend your service to Lido Center, that's fine. It will do for the disabled people.
We will.
And the other thing, always when we are accompanying the disabled people, always there's the tribunal. The best thing, I think, the best option for some of us who are doing advocacy work is always to accompany the vulnerable client. Is best option for them, because they need that comfortability, especially when they are with mental illness. They panic.
Yeah.
The note you are saying, maybe you can prevent, they take it to stick to that. Maybe they cannot fulfill on that need. So I will advise, I don't know whether you have that capacity or with its resources, but in the future, if especially the vulnerable groups, people with mental health, vulnerable, disabled, if you can help.
Yeah, there's a reason why we don't go to tribunals.
Yeah.
The tribunal is so if I was the DWP and the other side arrived with a solicitor in tow, everybody gets very defensive. Yeah. And we want the tribunal members to see the client properly. Yeah. And I know about the stress, but this is where our preparation comes in.
Okay.
We tell them, don't worry about any of this. Only worry about this one thing where they say you can walk 10 steps. Worry about that. That's all you should worry about, because that's the only reason they're stopping you from getting PIP. Yeah, so that's how we help. The other one is, if this is where the no assumption thing comes in. If we make an application on someone's behalf, we might be making a mistake. We do not want to take the autonomy away from people. So we will give them the best chances, the best options, we give them the pointers. But if we fill in a form and we assume they don't have a house, we might be wrong. They might own a house. Yeah. Just because they don't look like they own a house, so there's a potential here for making a judgment, and we have to be very, very careful. So we'll help, but we make it the client's case. It always stays the client's case. out of respect, and also to give them the maximum freedom. But we'll stand by their side.
I
Yes,
put that on, but also when you have a vulnerable disabled and their carers and their parents, maybe that when they have the date come in, they're uncomfortable. That is the angle I'm coming. But I think if we can work together with volunteers or something, somebody their carer, maybe prior to the date, then we can sit together. Maybe the carer can understand the situation. It will help a little bit. But that day I was coming for that situation. But I think from next time.
Feel free to email me. Yes. I don't know who you saw. We do have a stair lift to our building. So it does break though. So I'm very sorry. It's the university that is to blame here. We are available at the food bank. So if somebody rings us, we will make an appointment to see you at a food bank. And we have got some partners that we're going to be working with. And that will be disabled access without any problems.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. I think James had his hand up there. James, do you have a question?
Hi, James. Hi. You should remember us, Jim, from way back. Ricky.
I know. My partner also did some volunteering at the CAP as well while she was doing her law degree, and now she's a fully qualified immigration solicitor.
Oh, okay.
All thanks to
there we go. Success story, Ricky.
Experience.
Ricky Singh,
yeah. And also, she actually won a case, Lunas versus Home Office, in the European Court of Justice.
A famous case, yes.
She was one of the solicitors involved.
Cool.
While she was still considered as a trainee. So, yeah, not many people managed to get to European Court of Justice. Yeah. My question is, my question is immigration health surcharge, and also overall, the system seems to be stacked against all the refugees, trying to put them off with and even the EU citizenship application, the fees seem to go up regularly. This is from what my partner tells me.
There's no fees for EU settlement scheme. It's free to apply.
Yeah, but it's quite no, the other bits as well. The citizenships, there's about £1,000 involved.
Oh, the citizen, British naturalization, But you don't need to naturalize. That's what I say to my clients: if you've got settled status or indefinite leave to remain, don't worry about naturalizing unless you have.
But the whole system seems to be stacking against the people applying because there's a money up front for this.
It's horrendous.
And the fee goes up on a regular basis.
And children who are British have to pay to be registered as British or to. There's a lot of campaigning in this field. In fact, Ealing Law Centre. Ealing Law Centre, you were hosting a project on this not that long ago with Solange Valdez around registering British children. Your line's gone funny. Okay, so Ealing Law Centre ran a project around this and is still going. I can't remember what they're called, something with a P. Yes, there is campaigning going on about registering British children, making it free or cost.
Can you hear me?
No.
Thank you. James,
thank you very much. I've got to go now. I've got an appointment at 12. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for all the information, guys. Very useful.
Thank you. James, before you go,
okay, bye.
There is. Okay, I think he's already left there.
Yeah, gone.
Are you there? Yeah. Before you go, we put in a link on the chat site. Do go ahead and give in your feedback for the session today. It'll help us to collect information, monitor the session, and know what more to expect, and also, how the session has been going. So don't forget to click on that link for us. Any more questions for Barbara? Mary Fee? Okay, I read a chat message from Mary. She says, I think this is to I'm not sure if it's for Barbara or Philip. It's about teaching English and helping with writing letters. Is this?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mary, would you like to? We can't hear you.
Oh, hang on. Oh, God.
Now we can hear you.
Now we can hear you.
Except she's on mute now. There we go.
Okay. Years ago, about 50 years ago, local authorities used to provide adult education lessons in literacy, and I was a qualified teacher, and I used to do that in those days. And then sometime more recently, I was shocked when I had a daughter and I went home to visit one of her friends at school to find the mother had no English and the children were having to translate. And I don't know if it's still like that, but it occurred to me that it's something that people could help with, not necessarily qualified teachers, just conversation, writing things for people. And it occurred to me that the Let's members might be asked to do that. I don't think there's been any connection between Ealing Let's and BAME projects at all. And it occurred to me that it might be something where we could connect up and see if, you know, it's just ordinary literacy skills that people have that they could help with. Is there any, you know, would it be worth pursuing that?
Does Action West London, do they, I mean, they're not here, obviously, I don't think. Action West London, I think, does English classes for employment. And there are free classes for English, but they don't necessarily deal with the requirement to have letters written.
It's more like one-to-one help on specific things. That's what I was, you know, as and when, and you do it for people who are English speaking but just not very literate. You get the gist of what it is and you write a coherent letter for them, and then it gets the job done. You know, we're writing to authorities, letters and complaint, that sort of thing. Anyway, it's there. You can and could you put your contact things in the chat, because you can't copy and paste from the screen.
Yes, please. If you could go ahead and put in your name, your organization name, and any contact details in the chat, and everyone can go ahead and download the chat by clicking on the three dots under the chat window. So be very helpful, because we can't, we get a lot of requests of people wanting to communicate with someone. What I do is I go ahead and connect with both parties and then check if it's all right to, you know, connect them both. Because of GDPR, we can't really give you emails. So do put in your details on the chat. You know, that way you would be able, you're accessible to all. And Jane has put down a link for us. If you don't mind clicking on that link and giving us your feedback. It's https://forms.office.com. Please go ahead and click that link. While you're doing that, is there any other questions for Barbara, Philip, or Hilton today? Thank you so much for your time coming in today and giving us all that information. It was useful. I was hoping that the reach would have, you know, we would have more people today, because this is surely an important topic, and I was hoping we'd have more, but I'm sure our recording is going to, which is going to be on the site. For those who couldn't visit us, you can revisit us there. Any questions? Okay, what I will do is I will leave the session open for anyone who wants to discuss any issues that they've faced. And we have the experts here, and they'd be able to answer those questions for you.
I have an idea for Mary about the letter writing. I'm just trying to think what networking, what a service might consist of. It could be having a regular session, half a day a week or something, and people can come and see you to have the letter written.
Yes. Yeah, face to face, ideally.
Yeah.
So,
Well, actually, like the Zoom would work.
yeah.
But
Yes.
I guess you'd need to see the problem with letter writing is that if someone's English isn't very good, they need to convey to you what it is they're trying to say.
Yes,
So,
that's it. It requires quite a lot of attention.
yeah.
One of my teaching experiences, an early teaching experience, was I ended up in the Northern Territory in a one teacher school, and I had 2 Aborigine boys with no English. And I was teaching them to read and write along with the other white kids. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I developed methods to do all that, you know.
That surely is a big task, even for those of us who speak the language.
Yes.
Teaching is a difficult job.
And
Yeah.
English is
You need to have
notoriously
all
difficult.
that patience and energy. So
Yeah, but satisfying as well.
yes,
So we do, especially in West London, we get a lot of people who speak English all right. It's just reading and writing
Yes.
is a bit
Yes.
hit and miss.
Yeah, so I developed my own methods, you know, which I then took into adult literacy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Marima has a hand up.
Oh. Yeah, it's really interesting everything that you are saying, and as you can notice, I'm from Spain, and when I arrived here, I have to learn how the society works in the general way, and even the health system. So when I arrived here, my English was worse than now, and I decided to jump to RIP. It's a charity organization in Hillingdon to improve my English and meet new people, and they provided English lessons. It wasn't an official English lesson. It's just to provide you more confidence in terms to go outside, approach people. And it worked really well. And as time went by, I became a volunteer, and I ran the session. So what we used to do, it was to create like a kind of challenge. So for example, encourage the women go out to go shopping and find out that they could understand the prices of the things, what kind of recipes they used to prepare, how you can pronounce the ingredients, or how can you write it down. So little tiny things, but trying to build this kind of confidence, because they are coming from another different countries with different way, different vocabulary. It's really tricky. And even in terms of the health system, even in my case, when I came here, I was asking for a doctor. I didn't know what the GP means. What is that? General practitioner. Well, so it's silly things, but they can build their confidence.
Yeah.
And it worked really, really well. It worked really well.
Yeah, so the key to it is personalizing it, making it absolutely relevant. Yeah.
So in Germany, when all the refugees came over 4 years ago, people were queuing up to help families, and they'd take them by the hand, you know, symbolically by the hand, and do all the official, you know, do all the various registration here, put your child into the school, find out about nursery, get this house. And there were German families who were helping Syrian families go and do all the bureaucratic stuff, because no one would know how to do that otherwise. And it's the same in the UK. That's kind of when we might be very welcoming to asylum seekers and refugees. Okay, we're not officially, the Home Office doesn't like it, but we have a lot of people who've come here, and we just expect them to land on their feet, and that's the, you know, and then we get them into trouble when they don't pay council tax, because how were they to know that they have to pay council tax? So a buddy system would be really, I think that's a really good idea. And I think, again, I think women are the key here, because women are the ones who, you know, make sure the children are going to school, who are stereotypically, obviously, you know, the providers, and also health messages. You know, a health message is going to be more likely to be received from someone else from your community or a buddy than from your GP, who may not speak your language, or who has 10 minutes for you.
Yeah, the other area that I was wondering about is people who what about all the children who who didn't have digital connection, who missed out on school, and is it worse? I know it affects all families, but is it worse for BAME families, that the fact they may not have the digital equipment to communicate? Is that a big issue?
Well, poverty is a big issue,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
will affect BAME British, Asian, and minority ethnic families more, especially in Ealing.
Yeah.
And obviously undocumented, and no recourse to public funds, and
Yeah.
Lisa, you have your hand up.
schools. I think schools are very important with that. I think schools were collecting IT equipment and
Yes.
passing it on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just going to ask, and anyone, or Mariamar, how many years do you think it took you to feel confident in understanding the system, like your GP or where to go to for the dentist, and you know, reaching out to people who you wanted, who you needed, and support? How many years do you think did you feel, as it were, integrated into, you know, London living?
To be honest with you, I don't think we can stipulate a frame time, because every single person is different, and my background is nothing to compare with a refugee or an asylum seeker, or even in between the asylum seekers. They have their own personality, and some people feel a little bit more brave to go outside. Some people feel a little bit scared. It's more complexity than that. The thing is, we need to make sure that we provide information in the right venue and using the best approach possible. And for that, you have to be with them. You need to understand what kind of issues, what kind of fears they have. And you know, we used to have at the beginning a small group. And when I finished to work my work there, we used to have 30, 40 people in my sessions, and it was funny, and we can create different tables. So because everyone could learn, some people could learn a little bit quicker than others. So you try to mix up in between them and gain confidence. So when someone started to feel more confident, they started to help me. So like you mentioned, they listen better the message when it's someone from their own community, and if they are a struggle, they always can, you know, ask help with their mother tongue, try to have a better understanding about the wording. But in terms of health system, I think in terms of NHS, I work now in NHS, and we are trying to do our best. My role is engagement, and the language barrier is a huge issue, definitely. But we try to, for example, in our case, we needed to spread out the message about the COVID-19 vaccine. We didn't have resources, too much pressure about the system. And I said, okay, I'm going to speak with some practice managers. I'm going to speak with some GPs and say, are you happy if we can, you know, record with your phone a message about the COVID-19 vaccine in your mother tongue, because you are a GP, they know you are able to speak English and Somali or whatever, and they are going to trust you better that if we are going to provide any kind of message. And even if we have to print it out different and many flyers with different languages, not always we have, unfortunately, the funding. And we did it, and it worked really well. So sometimes you have to think out the box. And
different approaches, don't you, of getting to the same outcome. So, and do you find probably that people over the, like, your support is a lot, but over like the years it becomes less, and then it becomes a bit more organic because then they become volunteers? And but this is social cohesion and integration. This is how it works, and this is why local organisations are the ones to deliver this, because they, as you keep on saying, you're trusted. But I just wanted to, from my story, I'm a swimming teacher and a swimming coach, and I teach children to swim. Of course, when children come in and just like dumped in the school, into the school system, and they know that English is a second language. But for me, it's so rewarding when you see children, and because something like sport, swimming is so practical, I demonstrate what they need to do on the pool side. And then I just say just keywords or one word, And I had a girl that was new into the country, and by the end of the year she was swimming. She could swim 25 meters, and I actually used her as an example to the others to demonstrate the stroke, because she just really embraced it. But her first ever experience was like, bless her, she fell in because she didn't understand how to get in properly. But fast forward a year, she was just brilliant. And it, for me as an instructor, those are the kids that I really like working with, because there's all of these other barriers and you just see their confidence grow. And you can, yeah, where there's a will, there's a way, you know, and yeah, for me, I love working with them kids. It's great. Yeah.
And I think in terms to reach all the communities is work collaboratively.
Yeah.
Like I said, my role is in Hillingdon, but it's also in Brent and Harrow. So for example, in Hillingdon again, one example, we wanted to create a flyer. We didn't have the funding, but the local authority had the funding. So I said, okay, you can provide the designer, I can provide the wording because I can speak with the Northwest London Comms team. And we can target it at specific areas that we really need to push the COVID-19 because they feel scared, they have hesitancy. So what we did, it was, okay, I coordinated the LPC, the local pharmacy communities. They help us in terms to distribute the flyer inside the prescription bags. And I contact with the fire brigade and the voluntary sector to drop off all the flyers in the strategic places. And it worked really, really well. The thing is, we are many working in different ways, but everyone is doing an amazing job. And we are not communicating each other, and we are losing opportunities, and we are duplicated work, and it's not worth it. I think we need to improve, you know, these kind of forums. I know that I'm not working in Ealing, but it's interesting to find out what's happening there, because if I can provide any kind of example that someone can take it, I'm more than happy. But also I can take notes about all your comments and say, interesting, maybe something that we can try, why not? And build all these kind of connections is really, really important. I'm very passionate, sorry.
Thank you, Marimar. In fact, that's the essence of this entire program. What you said is exactly what hit to the heart. We all are duplicating all our work. You know, everybody's doing it their own way. But you know, when you put your heads together, a lot of it can be done together, and the outcome would be fabulous. This forum doesn't bring only the statutory bodies on it. We also have organizations like you coming forward, sharing your best practices. So I think it's the best place to come and build. Thank you for that. Before I pass on a question from Sharanjit, I would just like to inform you on one update. Yesterday, the Ethical Property Foundation presented at the Community Advisory Board, and they're offering help on property advice. A lot of stores and shops around are closing, so support on property help. If you'd like to know more, please get in touch with me and I'll share that information to you. On to you, Sharanjit. You have a question and your hand up.
Yes, I'm so sorry. A lot of us missed yesterday's meeting. You know, if we can get a reminder same day as well, it'll be beneficial, because a lot of meetings going on, and is sometimes we forget. Sometimes mental health is not 100% for everybody, and I would really appreciate if the link can, or Zoom link can be sent as a reminder. Tomorrow is a meeting, or today is a meeting. It does help, honestly. And I feel really bad because I missed the really important meeting yesterday. As you know, I'm always there on meetings to gain more and more information and knowledge. And today's session was brilliant. Barbara brought a lot of information, and all the other expertise brought a lot of information. It'll be really nice if we can get a link with from Barbara, and get information of each other. I mean, sometimes we don't need the help for ourselves. Sometimes we feel we need to help other people. So these are the links and approaches we can get on easily access the information and link with them as well.
Thank you, Sharanjit. With reference to the first suggestion you made, yes, we are sending out links. What we have stopped with the cash meeting now is sending out links to everybody, which I was doing earlier. We would be sending links only once you've registered onto Eventbrite. Our funder would like to evaluate, how this event has been received, and to get that kind of data and understand more from you and feedback, we'd request you to sign up onto Eventbrite, and we'd send out regular Zoom links, reminders to you. 3 reminders for every meeting. So we're working on that, and apologies. You missed it, but we will put up the recording of the session onto the website. So the meeting yesterday that you missed, I think Toby organized it. We will have that recording too on the site. With reference to your other question on the slides, Ian will be sending out the slides to everyone post the event.
Thank you. And keep up with the brilliant work.
And really want to thank all our speakers today. You brought to this forum very valuable information. Thank you, Hilton, Philip, and Barbara, making time out for us. I hope you've put in your links apart from the slides. If you can put it into the chat, it would be really good, and we have a lot of people connecting with you. If there's no more questions for the groups, I want to say have a lovely sunny day and enjoy yourself, and take care, stay safe.
Good weekend, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye.